Hello guys, and welcome to another episode. So you might notice that I do not have my co-host today. It is just me interviewing today's guest, and I am so excited for this. I am interviewing Max, who fasts and trains according to her cycle. So last episode we spoke about intermittent fasting, and I was talking about it with two boys. Obviously, our hormones, our cycles, all of that stuff is so important when it comes to how we fast, if we can fast, how fasting actually benefits us. And so much of the research behind fasting has been done with men just because it's really hard to get a controlled environment considering how our cycles and bodies work. So I wanted to have a girly episode. This episode is for the girls. I'm sitting on the floor in my bedroom. I literally feel like I'm at a sleepover, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I know I will because I am so excited. So thanks for chatting with me. So I did a podcast last week with two boys about fasting and training, and I was sitting there like, I feel like this has nothing to do with me, and I have so much more that goes into all this. So when I found out that you fast according to your cycle and all that sort of stuff, I was so fascinated. So how did you get into that?
So I've always been into health and fitness, and I don't really watch TV, so I'm always listening to podcasts because I'm a single mom. I constantly have to be doing stuff with my hands. And I came across a podcast with this woman, Dr. Mindy Pelz. And she is like a fasting guru. And I then got sold on to buying her book. And I read her book called Fast Like a Girl. And it pretty much changed everything for me because in the past I tried intermittent fasting, but I would fail. And I would be a really grumpy, miserable person. And I didn't know why I couldn't do it. And then when I read her book and I started fasting according to my cycle, it was so much easier. And my period became regular. I had a lot of cellulite before, and I lost a lot of my cellulite. And I just felt more motivated, and my body was just happier. And I didn't binge eat so much, because when you get into fasting, sometimes as a girl, because you're restricting yourself so much, you end up binge eating.
I feel like that's the biggest thing. So when my partner talks about his fasting, he just seems to have this amazing willpower that I don't have. Yeah. And you question yourself. You're like, am I that weak? Yeah. Whereas like you're saying, it just makes sense that your hormones impact our cravings, it impacts our mood, it impacts our sleep, it impacts our rest, which all impacts our diet.
Yeah, guys find it so easy. I also felt like, what's wrong with me that I can't keep up with any intermittent fasting for longer than a few weeks?
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to see those changes? Like how long did you give it before you were like, this is amazing?
I basically started feeling amazing within a month.
Wow.
Because I went hard as well. I did like 2-day fast. I think the 2-day fast resets your dopamine receptors, 2 days or 3 days. And I felt like just super happy. I was going for walks and just being like, wow, isn't this beautiful world? I love this world. Oh, I love my life. Like I was so happy. I was like, hi.
So is that a 2-day water fast?
Yeah. 2-day water fast. Yeah. 2 and 3 day water fast. Yeah. But you shouldn't do them too much. You should only do them a couple times a year, because then, I think if you do them too often, you might be heading towards eating disorder territory. You just kind of want to shock your body every once in a while. You just want to shock it. And you don't want to be in too much of a routine with it either, because you want to get into autophagy, which happens, I think, after like 16 or 18 hours. And autophagy means eating oneself. And I think in 2016, there was a Japanese scientist who won the Nobel Prize for discovering this.
I think the biggest thing is you are obviously so into all the science behind it, and it isn't just I want to lose weight, so I'm going to intermittent fast, and this is how I'm going to do it. I think the benefits of intermittent fasting is so beyond that.
Yeah, I've always been skinny, so it's definitely not about losing weight for me. And I also was a bit scared about doing the fasting because I thought that I would lose my muscle, because I'm really into the gym as well.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose my muscle. I don't want to be a string bean. But it doesn't. If you do weight training, resistance training, you won't lose your muscle if you do fasting. You just have to keep lifting weights, So, yeah.
So that was my next question. Did you find you built more muscle once you started intermittent fasting, how did you find that changed your actual training in the gym?
I definitely looked more ripped, obviously.
Yeah.
I've gained muscle. I've gained muscle since I started fasting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gained muscle, but also do, my creatine, because you can take some supplements when you're fasting. So like creatine you can take. I buy all the supplements that I can take. What I'm trying to say is I don't get like a pre-made pre-workout.
Yeah.
I make my own pre-workout, because what goes into a pre-made one is the sugar and flavorings and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then you're not fasting if you take a whole bunch of other stuff. So I try to keep it simple, and I just make my own stuff.
Do you have any rules when it comes to what you eat? Are you paleo, keto, whole food, vegan, anything?
Not really, because I find that if I restrict myself too much, then I start obsessing over, I really want that donut. Oh, I really want that donut. And blah, 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 blah. And then, start obsessing. And then next thing you know, during your eating window, you're eating 20 donuts.
Yeah.
It's like, don't want that. But I try to minimize eating sugar as much as I can. But when it's like the week before my period, I don't restrict myself too much. I give myself some freedom, but I try to stick to nature's carbs.
Yeah, I love that. So what does that mean?
Potato, sweet potato, pumpkin, anything that's from the earth, vegetables, nature's carbs, not, refined stuff.
I love that. Instead of necessarily labeling it as clean food and demonizing other foods, I love how you say just nature's carbs. I love that.
Yeah.
So what does eating look like according to different parts of your cycle? Or what is your fasting depending on where you're at?
So the week before your period, before your menstruation, you don't really fast, and you eat nature's carbs, and you try to get enough sleep. You also don't go so hardcore with cardio training. You just kind of stick to more weights and things like that, because you're giving your body a bit of a break. And then as soon as your period starts, you can basically start fasting again. So I'll do like a 24-hour fast, maybe the second day of my period, or 18 hours. And then I start fasting again randomly until the week before my period again. So it's really important to track your cycle. You need an app like Flow or Moody. Moody is a great app because it tells you where your hormones are in your cycle, where you're sitting. If you have high testosterone right now or low or blah, 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 that really helps because you want to fast according to your hormones. I don't really eat keto or anything. Yeah. I've tried that before and it kind of backfired I feel like if I do too much and I put too many rules and restrictions in my life, then it can backfire.
Yeah.
I just need to be kind to myself and try to be as healthy as possible, but not restrict myself too much because, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So one thing, I know I've been looking into this so much, and I'm currently on a hormonal birth control, and I'm slowly trying to go down the journey of deciding to get off it. Yeah. And so many people have spoken about this, intermittent fasting according to your cycle to make that process so much easier. Because it's a roller coaster.
I don't know how you would go on the birth control and fasting, because for me personally, I tried 5 different birth controls.
Wow.
Hormonal ones. And I hated every single one of them. All of them made me grumpy, moody, made me want to just binge eat, made me just like irritable. So I wonder how you would go fasting when you're taking birth control, because it changes your hormones.
Yeah, it's such a thing at the moment of so many people are deciding, I don't want to do this to my body anymore. And that's how this discussion of intermittent fasting is coming up, because people are coming off it and their bodies are a mess and they're trying to do things like normal intermittent fasting or diets or all this sort of thing that really is, all the research about this stuff is done towards a man because they are so much more controlled and easy to study. Yeah. The information around women is so much harder. So I think this is such a important topic and why it's so popular, because it just makes sense. Like you said, don't thrash your body the week before your period.
Yeah.
Like
totally. But also it's just not normal for us to have so much food all the time.
Yeah.
It's a weird world we live in. Before we had to work for our food, we had to go hunt, we had to go gather, we had to grow, we had to, and then we had to, battle farming through the seasons, and, then we're short on food, then we've got plenty of food, so it's not normal to just go Uber Eats, ding, ding, at my door, and then everything's just full of seed oils and sugar, and, so we're messing our bodies up basically. And fasting is like some necessary suffering that actually makes you feel great.
So one thing I am interested in is, what is your life like with alcohol? Do you drink? Do you not drink? What's your thing with that?
Well, I actually used to be a big drinker.
Yeah.
I used to drink maybe 4 days a week. Just my life was tough. I needed to unwind, every night. Like, I just felt like I couldn't wait to open a bottle of wine, at 5, 6 p.m. But now I just really don't. I've kind of lost the desire to drink. I don't really care. Maybe on a Saturday night if I go out for dinner, but I don't really drink anymore. I think fasting changed my body and also changed my brain and my rewards system or whatever. So
the way the fasting seems to have rewired your brain in so many ways, like you said, healed your relationship with food, and you don't want to drink as much, and there's got to be evidence in that. The way that it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't even want that anymore, and I don't crave those sort of foods, and I'm not as grumpy and moody anymore.
High anxiety, and having high anxiety also, I think it's helped my mental health.
Yeah.
So if you don't really have high anxiety, then you don't really want to eat crap, and then you also don't want to drink. So it all feeds on each other.
Yeah, I think that's a big one at the moment in the fitness industry, is the anxiety. There is so much confusion around, if you're trying to copy what these gym bros are doing, you're waking up and you're having protein first thing in the morning, and you're smashing white rice and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, the social media stuff is just mainly nonsense. People just want to see, look how healthy and perfect my life is. But no one actually lives like that. They might do 3 or 4 days a week, but, you can't put so much pressure on yourself. People feel too much pressure to do anything good for their bodies because they're too afraid of failure. And so they make up excuses, and they're like, oh, I can't wake up at 4 a.m. and do a sauna and a cold plunge and then 20-kilometer run, start small.
I think that one that you just said, of that fear of failure, is huge, because I know so many times that I would have been on a new diet or a new wellness regime, and I'd get to Wednesday and I would do one thing wrong, and I was like, well, I'm just going to throw the whole week away and start again on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We all do things like that, or we'll just go to Macca's and order 6 burgers because tomorrow I'm going to fast. Yeah. I'm going to start tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be, so today I'm going to be the worst. Yeah.
So that's why I love this, how, you felt that with normal fasting, because I do think that is one thing a lot of people do want to fast, but that fear of failure and that anxiety of, I've got to fit to this very strict regime, and even though I have hormones that fluctuate all throughout the month, I can't come off this regime. And it really just biologically makes no sense.
Yeah. Do you know what I also found with the fasting? And my PMS symptoms have gone down a lot. I used to be really sensitive during the week before my period, very sensitive. If I had a boyfriend, that's the week we're fighting. Yeah. I'm very emotional, very grumpy, very bloated, very this. And now I don't really have those symptoms anymore. I do still get bloated, but I have a high sex drive now throughout the whole month.
Which is crazy.
I'm in a good mood most of the time.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff growing up, to just think, okay, for at least, normally you feel crap the week before your period, the week after, and the week during it, and you just think that's normal. You're just like, that's part of being a woman, that I'm going to be grumpy.
Oh yeah, this is just what's normal for me. I just have excruciating pain, and I'm so super irritable, and I'm very emotional, and then my period comes, and then it's even worse, and it bleeds so heavily, and people just accept it, and I get acne before my period. People just accept that's normal, when it's actually, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and that is the biggest thing I think I'm seeing more and more in these discussions, of people saying, no, women don't have to just suffer other than 1 week a month. We can have a better quality of life month round, and there are natural things we can do, like fasting according to our cycle and eating certain foods and prioritizing that stuff instead of, I think going on hormonal birth control is the Band-Aid solution. I think a lot of people just go, I'm just going to go on birth control and that'll be it. But that comes with its own side effects, like you said.
Women just don't have to live this way.
Yeah.
Educate yourself. Yeah, you can have a better quality of life for sure.
So have you always been fit and healthy, or was there a period in your life where you weren't?
I've always gravitated towards health and fitness, for sure. Even as a little girl, I would steal the cucumbers out of the fridge and the olives, and I would watch my cartoons eating cucumbers and olives. I always wanted to get into the gym, but I had like anxiety about it because I didn't know what I was doing, and I felt like people were looking at me and I was too shy, and the motivation to do something yourself can be difficult because as soon as you're at the gym, you're doing something yourself and then it gets hard, you're kind of like, I want a break. What changed for me is I started doing group classes, so going to the gym and doing classes with people, because then you can't just exit early, or Susie next to you is doing that many reps, so you also have to do that many reps, so it keeps you motivated. Most of the meals were home cooked stuff, but we're South African and we love junk food, you know, because it's cheap, and we love things in a can. Whatever comes in a can, it's great. Yeah, my mom, there's videos of me being like 1 year old and my mom's giving me chocolate bars. So it's funny that I'm completely opposite to that now.
Yeah. Because I think that's listening to you talk, it sounds like it's just something you're so passionate about that it's kind of just your way of life, versus I think a lot of people get into health and wellness because they want to get a quick fix to lose weight for something, or their why is super superficial versus just wanting to live a better quality life.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where I think that fasting is going to be hard even if you do everything right to do it and you sync it up to your cycle, you're doing it because, you are taking into account your hormones. If you're still fasting for the wrong reasons, it's still going to be tough. You still just want to do it because you want to have a good life versus a skinnier body or whatever superficial reason you're getting into it for.
Yeah, well, I think also just starting small is great. There's I think there was a study done on some overweight people that were eating, just the usual sodas and junk food and whatnot. And they restricted that. They were still allowed to eat all the junk that they wanted, but they could only do it in an 8-hour period. And they still lost weight. They still got so many health benefits. So even if you're just eating McDonald's for 8 hours, it's still beneficial because you're restricting it.
Yeah. So how many days a week do you train? How does training work when it comes to your cycle?
I train like 5 to 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I love my routine, and I love feeling good after I train. But so I'll do like 5 to 6 days a week, and the weeks that I'm fasting, I'll add more cardio and whatnot. But the week that I'm not fasting, the week of my period, I'll do less. I'll train less and I'll do less cardio because I find that my cortisol builds up quicker if the week before my period and when you have cortisol, that's not great. Yeah,
so I love this. Could you quickly talk more about cortisol? Because this is something I have been seeing everywhere, looking into cortisol, and it's confusing. It is so confusing about what it is, when I want it, when I don't want it, how it affects me. Yeah.
So cortisol is a stress hormone, I'm pretty sure, because I feel stressed when I've got high cortisol. When you've got high cortisol, you're just more prone to getting diseases or issues, or holding on to fat and cellulite, hair falling out. You kind of you need cortisol to survive, sure, but you want to keep it low. You don't want to have high cortisol, Because
I was actually listening to a podcast this morning, and they were talking about cortisol and training, and I have always thought, because I've got a partner that can be in the gym lifting weights for an hour and a half. So I was like, okay, that's what I have to do to see results. And they're saying, no, if you're a female, you don't want to push your body to that level of stress. That level of stress is actually going to have the high cortisol. It's not going to impact you well. Yeah. And the more you hear about how different we are to men, and how if we compare ourselves to men and we do what men are doing, we're actually just self-sabotaging all of our progress, is wild. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I've got some friends that are cardio junkies. They absolutely love cardio, and 4 or 5 days a week, they're doing high intensity cardio training. And you would think that their bodies would be extremely skinny and abs ripped, but they look just normal. Like,
yeah.
And I think it's because maybe they do too much of that type of training. I think, and I think that the cortisol makes them hold on to fat and whatnot more. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think so many women especially are so scared of lifting weights. This fear of getting bulky is crazy.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting. I think now it's maybe a little bit less because big bums are in fashion.
Yeah.
So everyone's doing their squats and their whatever else, their deadlifts. But yeah, definitely like upper body strength training women are more afraid of. But yeah, they do think that they need to punish themselves by doing like an hour of running on the treadmill and burpees. They punish themselves. Well, my girlfriends do that a lot. Whereas I focus more on the weights for sure. And what I also find is if you're really hammering the cardio every week, your appetite goes up.
Yeah.
You just want to eat so much food right after, and for the days after, you kind of you can get stuck binge eating. You can undo the work that you've just done very easily, and you can get really irritable because now you're really hungry. So your cortisol rises. Cardio is important, but like weights are more important.
Yeah. So do you do full body weights or do you have splits? How do you do your gym sessions?
I split. I split them, but like on Mondays at my gym, I'll do squats, and Tuesdays is more deadlifts and pull-ups, so that's a split. But I also really enjoy Pilates.
I love Pilates.
That is, if you don't want to get into lifting weights, Pilates is great. You can actually build muscle with Pilates. It's actually very difficult. I suffer more doing Pilates than I do lifting weights at the gym.
Yeah. I feel like Pilates is such a mental game because if I go to the gym and I lift heaps of weights, I'm like, I feel sore and I'm tired, but I've lifted all that. Yeah. You do a tiny little Pilates movement and you're dying and you're like, I didn't do anything. Like, it's humbling.
Yeah, I'm like, you have a 2 kilo weight on you when you're like, why am I burning? I'm suffering. No, it's very difficult. But Pilates Pilates, I find is easier for you to sometimes show up to the gym. Sometimes you because you think, okay, I'm going to be like on a Pilates bed, aircon room. It's going to be like nice music and we're just going to get it over and done with. It's easier for you to kind of have the motivation to show up for Pilates sometimes than it is to go lift weights at the gym. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that thing as well, when you're talking about, training and fasting to your cycle, I think the more things you have in, say, your toolbox of what you can do makes life easier. Because if all you do is weight train and you identify as being someone that lifts really heavy weight, and then that week before your period you need something to like a bit lighter to do, say you still have Pilates or something you can do, emotionally you're not going to feel like you're failing because, okay, my body needs something lighter, and it's not all or nothing. If I can't do the heaviest squat I can normally do, I don't have to lie in bed and sit here and just feel like I'm wasting my life. I can go do Pilates.
You get out and move.
Yeah.
Yeah, do Pilates, exactly. Go for walks. Just do something. Keep your body moving, but you don't have to, you might not get your personal best in whatever you're doing during that week. Yeah.
Because I think there's also this massive fear that progress is just lost like that. Like if you don't go to the gym for a few days, your muscle will be gone. And like I said, if you're doing 2 days of fasting, most people would think, oh no, if I'm not hitting my protein goals every single day, I'm going to lose all my progress. Like this can't be good for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that is definitely a thing.
Do you remember when people were doing, was it if it fits your macros?
No, I never did that.
That was the worst. So it was that was the big thing on social media. You had your macros, all that stuff, and you had to hit them every single day. And it was meant to be a less restrictive way of eating because instead of having calories, it was, oh no, you can eat whatever you want as long as it fits in these macros. And that just bred this horrendous culture of people thinking, if I'm not smashing this amount of protein every single day, then I'm not...
I've definitely gone through that.
Yeah, and I think that's so tough.
Reading the back of everything, how much protein is in this, how much protein is in that, okay, how much protein, okay, 2 more hours and I need to have a little bit more protein and blah, blah, blah. I've definitely done that as well, and that just made me feel nuts.
It's such a culture of, I don't know what the word is. I think fitness can just be so extreme.
It can be toxic.
Yeah, incredibly
it can be
toxic.
And extreme. Yeah, for sure. I think some people it can be, I see some people be even maybe more obsessive than me. And I think it kind of can fall into some type of eating disorder. I think there might be a word for it.
I think it's orthorexia, that obsession with eating clean.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go into that territory, and that's also not healthy, because then you, once again, you mess up your hormones because you're just punishing yourself all the time.
Yeah. And that's where I think there's that fine line of if you're fasting for the right reasons or if you're fasting as a way to excuse, almost looking for an excuse to eat less, an excuse to not fuel your body.
Yes.
And that's something that because I think a lot of people fear away from intermittent fasting or talking about it because there is this restrictive culture around it versus, I mean, I don't ever see it come up if men talk about it. When men talk about intermittent fasting, it's a very healthy, good thing. Everyone's praising it. Women talk about it and it's like, oh, you're just not eating and you're just this and you're just that.
Yeah, you just have an eating disorder or something, you know. And people are very afraid of fasting. Like, if I say, like, I'm going to do a 24-hour fast, they're like, oh, I could never.
Yeah.
Oh, I would die. Oh, I would pass out. No, I need to eat. No, I need it. You know, and I'm like, okay, well, you do that then.
Yeah, people are so vocal. Yeah.
Yeah, and then people can get also a bit mad at you about it because for them it's like a threat. It's like you're going to take their food away. Yeah. You know? So they really don't want you to fast. They don't want to agree with you. They don't want you to... Yeah, it's like they kind of feel threatened by it for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's a massive thing as well, that if you say you're fasting, so many people can have opinions about that and say... almost question you why you're doing it to the point they're trying to gaslight you into believing it's something you shouldn't be doing when it can be incredibly healthy and incredibly supportive for our hormones and our bodies. And like you were saying, all that stuff you were doing when you were on all the birth controls and you were doing the normal thing, you felt like crap. Yeah. You do the abnormal thing.
I felt crazy.
Yeah. And then you do the abnormal thing that so many people would make comments about, and you've got this life and this feeling in your body that everyone's searching for with, you know, different forms of birth control, or they're taking antidepressants or like the use of anti-anxieties now, I think is so normalized, and there's a place for medication, but so many people probably don't have to be on it because of lifestyle factors we can change.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's so sad that people would rather take a pill than just change their lifestyle and be happier. No, doctors, no one actually talks about nutrition and lifestyle. People just are just too happy to give you a script. Yeah. And send you on your way. I mean, before I did fasting, I was, like I said, I was drinking a lot, and I used to take, I used to think I was crazy because I felt crazy all the time. I used to take anti-anxiety medication, antidepressant medication, you know, and I never, and whenever I got those meds and I had a meeting with my doctor, it wasn't like, what's happening in your life, like, okay, well, maybe you should not do that, and maybe you should focus more on these healthy habits. And it was never that. It was just like, okay, pills, go. You know, it's weird. It's just, they could be glorified drug dealers. I don't know.
100%. Because I know I have anxiety, and throughout my life I've considered going on to anti-anxiety medication, and I'm like, no, once I do that, that's it. My doctor is never going to question anything else. It's just, now stay on your pills. Don't go off them. Yeah. That's it. That's it.
And then it messes you up even more. I mean, some people, sure, they need pills, of course, whatever. Everyone's different. But if you can change your world, if you can change your lifestyle, there's a big chance that you don't need medication. Yeah. At the end of the day.
And don't have to feel like you're so reliant on something forever. Because I know that's my biggest fear with medication. Not even the pill itself, but thinking, what if I then need this forever? What if the fear of coming off that?
What damage has now already been done?
Exactly. And that's where I'm a bit with like the hormonal birth control is, okay, I need to start making a bit of an action plan to get off this, because what is it actually doing to my body long term? It's not normal to be putting these synthetic hormones into our bodies that mess up our natural cycle. Exactly. It's just fascinating to hear someone that, I said, you're reading about it, and I'm seeing lots of it on social media of people talking about this fasting and eating and training according to their cycle. And everyone kind of praises it, but no one ever actually goes into what the benefits actually are beyond normally that you train better. A lot of people like to go into that kind of element of that week before your period, you're not going to be able to lift as heavy. But the benefits from what you've said are so much more than just how much you can lift.
Yeah. There's like the list goes on. I mean, it's cancer preventative. It's your body. It helps prevent diseases. It's anti-aging. It's weight loss. It balances your hormones. I mean, the benefits is just endless. It's unbelievable, actually. I'm surprised that we've only discovered this now.
Yeah, it's such
years, I'm surprised this was not happening. It wasn't a trend before. But it shows how little we know about our bodies.
Oh, and I think especially women, we've always compared ourselves to men in the fitness industry, and now that we're getting that presence, it's okay, how are we different to men, and how can we get the results we want instead of looking at a man and going, I'm going to eat what you eat, train how you train, and hope that I also get abs. Because it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I don't know why we're always trying to be one of the boys or be in competition with them. Don't. They can't have babies. They can't do a lot of things that we do. So we're in our own league.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would love to finish by asking you, because we sometimes try different wellness trends on this podcast. We've done saunas and all that sort of thing, and working out what is actually a legitimate wellness tool and what's a fad. Do you have any wellness tools that you love?
Like what? Like going to the sauna or something?
Yeah, sauna, ice bath, a particular supplement, anything like that.
I actually don't do ice bath, and I was doing the sauna, but I actually think that the infrared saunas are not really what they're hyped up to be. I think that the good saunas are the steam saunas.
Yeah.
The ones you can't breathe in.
Yeah, the old really school ones.
Because I was doing the infrared saunas a few times a week, and I stopped doing it, and I actually feel better not doing it.
Yeah.
I think I wasn't really getting anywhere with doing it, surprisingly. So I don't have a tool. I have a tool that you shouldn't bother using it, basically. Don't bother with that one.
It's actually such a refreshing answer, though.
Yeah. Don't bother with infrared saunas. Go to a steam one, the traditional ones. But I don't really my gym so much. I mean, what else can I do?
Yeah.
Where do I find the time?
Amazing.
But what I do like is red light therapy. I've noticed a lot of change in my skin. I feel like I look more brighter and more awake with red light therapy. So I was also going to the infrared saunas for the red light.
Yeah.
And you can buy the red light. You can buy like a panel of red light thing online, and you can just stick it up in your room and just do like 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
It helps to do that while you meditate. That's great.
I love habit stacking.
Meditating.
Yes, I love habit stacking.
Meditating is a tool, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That really helps calm your mind and sets you up for a good day or a good sleep. I love a guided meditation. I like to focus on someone else's voice guiding me through that. That's really helpful. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. I know everyone's going to love this. This was amazing. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing.
I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.